Okay. Yes, the "you are alive" thing has shown itself. So yeah, here we are. Wow, it has been January, February, March, April, May, 5, and December. We only had like one. We only did it once in December, so we've had
Yeah.
6 months, 6 whole months, Olio, since we have been here at our little gathering of bookish peoples. Um, yeah, it's been a wild year. I think it's been a wild year for all of us. Before we jump into the meat of our discussion today on our book, which if anybody's watching, yeah, oh yeah, look, yours is over there.
I forgot mine. Yeah.
I just,
It's okay.
I'm holding it up for you.
So, okay, so we're doing Fight Like a Girl. We had intended fully, totally, and completely to do Fight Like a Girl 3 or 4 months ago. We had, in fact, intended fully and totally to start our bi weekly meetings since January of this year. Um, yeah, a lot has happened. If the rest of you are okay with it, I feel like it's worth doing a little bit of an update so that we could talk about what comes next before we hop in, so that anybody who is curious about such a thing can figure that out now, decide if they want to keep watching.
Yeah, go ahead. I think that's a good idea.
Me first. I was thinking you first.
So when they said updates, I haven't slept in 6 days.
I feel okay. I mean, you haven't slept in 6 days, but we're talking about the last 6 months.
Oh, so the last 6 months, I think everybody, each of us, you've had like stuff, right? Like life stuff. I
Two
moved,
people have moved house.
we
No,
moved
three.
house.
Three of you have moved house,
Yeah, three moved
right?
house. I recently started an volunteership,
Yeah.
right? I started my degree, which has been put off for way too long. Which is exactly the reason why I haven't slept in 6 days, because I am a little behind on assignments. You know, sometimes a bad bitch is bad because she's bad at stuff. So,
Not in this case though.
not in this case, but like
Yeah.
generally, like for
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
bad bitches. Yeah.
Sai, do you wanna go next?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the last 6 months have been insane. Excuse the music that's happening in the background of a cafe right now. Hopefully, it doesn't like get pinged on the internet. The last 6 months have been settling into a new apartment, uh, whirlwind of a job. My best friend got married. I went to Paris. Um, so good things. Good things.
Yes, lots and lots. And to give you an idea of all of the things we've been doing, the struggles we've been trying to overcome to like have this first meeting of the year, which incidentally is my last, and I will get to that. Um, to have this first meeting of the year is that a whole bunch of things have been going wrong every time we settle on a date for us to have this first of the year. And then we postpone it and we cannot postpone it anymore. And so, no matter what hell and or high water, we are having this book club today. Bree, Bree, I Bree, you tell folks because things things have been
Thanks.
going on.
I know. I walked into my job on January 3rd. We started our morning meeting, and all of a sudden, we're all logged out of our accounts. HR starts calling us all individually. Whole department was shut down with zero notice. But within 3 weeks, I got another job. So now I went from developing cancer therapeutics to 3D printing human chondrocytes for children born without ears for a disease called microtia. So I'm very excited to be working more on the engineering side. So I get to play with biology still, and I get to learn a whole lot about 3D printing and engineering. So, women in STEM, right? And because of my job, I was commuting another 4 hours a day. I moved from Brooklyn to Queens, and I hate it here. I miss Brooklyn, but yeah, it's 2022 has been a lesson in flexibility. And right now I'm being flexible too because I just got a positive COVID test. So I'm glad this is digital and remote, but I can't wait to dive into this. And I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad we're all back together. So
I hope you feel better soon, Bree.
Okay. Sorry, y'all. I'm stuffing my face. I stuffed at the wrong moment because now it's my turn to talk. Give me a hot. Give me a hot second.
So it is so happy to be, back, all of us together. Just give me a signal when you're ready. Do you want me to get into how we ended up doing Fight Like a Girl? Right. So I was doing research, aka I was on TikTok. Every time I say I'm doing research, it's TikTok. Like, that's my reference source, because everything on the internet is correct. And there was this author who said, well, Trini, Muay Thai inspired murder mystery, and she is saying all the right things, right? So I'm there, and I just like, okay, Julie, book club, bunch of question marks. And then I get somebody in my inbox stating that they're the publicist and they would like to sponsor some books. So a very, very, very special thanks to Penguin Teen Canada for sponsoring all of us, right? Which is why I have a physical
by
copy.
sponsoring, what we mean is for mailing us books, right? Like, they didn't give us money; they just gave us.
They give us books.
Honestly, you might as well give us lunch. Like, I love food and I love books, and they're the same. Like, they're my sustenance.
Yeah.
So, like,
yeah.
that's how it goes for me.
Like, I put books about food and sleep. Yes. Food and sleep.
Oh my gosh. I feel like, hey, yeah, now we can all just be like,
right. So a very, very, very special thanks to Sheena Kamal for sharing her work with the world, and
for writing such a good fucking book.
It was so, listen,
this was so good.
I had my expectations. I thought it would be good.
Yes.
And
okay.
Like, I knew it was going to be a good read. Like, I sat down, took off my bra. You get into your read. I'm going to read a good book.
Your bra, you like fling it over onto the coffee table. You're like, oh, you kick up your foot. Yeah.
Right.
We're going to get straight into this book, though, before I explain to everyone why I will no longer be on book cults, because I need to make sure I do this, because I will forget, and then everybody will be like, well, where's the book cult happening? So I became an agent. Woo! The announcement went public on May 4th because we thought that was a great day, because May the 4th would be with us.
And with your spirit.
Yes, all of the things. All of the Star Warsy things. Okay, so I became an agent, and I've been working towards this for quite some time. For anybody who was like following the stuff that I've been doing with Jenna Azantian at her agency, Azantian Literary Agency, and I'm finally an agent now. Woo! So I also have a day job, because that's how publishing works, is that so many people in publishing need to have more than one job, because the publishing just doesn't pay amazingly. It's really, right now, a field of passion. It is something that you do because you're passionate about your work and about books, and I am that, in case you couldn't tell. I'm sure you could tell. So I will be moving away from book clubs, not because I don't want to be here, but really just because I don't have the time anymore. And because for me, book cult has done all of the things I really wanted it to do when I started this last year. I was kind of struggling to maintain connectivity and community in my reading, because I was part of writers groups and things like that, but I didn't have as many people to talk to about the books I read together. Like, I might find people who had read that book, but I wanted a little bit more community, and I wanted other ways to develop my craft. And so right around the same time, I started my mentorship with Jen. I also started book cults. And because I was also very passionate about, for the same reason I became an Asian, I'm really passionate about more diverse voices in the book space and in the publishing space. And so everybody who is here with us, we are women of color, we are women from the global south, we are diaspora, we are immigrants or children of immigrants. You know, we share all of those identities that are fairly underrepresented and marginalized in publishing on the whole. So now that I am no longer able to continue with book cults, and I do have this community of beautiful people, meaning you three and Sheena. Sheena's the one that we're missing, our regular we're missing. Gabriella is also not here today, but I know Gabriella has been, I think she's been to like 3 of our book cults. But yes, so you know, I do have this lovely community now, but I don't have the time. Well, I will make the time to read the books. I can't always guarantee that I'm here to have this. And so book cults will continue, but it will continue without me. It will become its own beautiful thing. Book Cult now has its own YouTube channel, which, you know, I will share those links. I will add those links to things, and I will share those on like Twitter. And I mean, I'll share it on Facebook, but I'm not really on Facebook. So like I went on Facebook today to post something and I had like 1 million notifications. So, but I will share it, and so will the rest of us, the rest of the Book Cult board. But I will no longer be present for these. I'll just kind of exist in the background. Maybe every now and then I'll hop on and do like a guest. I'll be a guest. I won't be a host anymore. And that's kind of cool. I'm really enjoying that Book Cult can continue without me and be its own thing and have, you know,
It's a teenager.
People. Oh God, yes. It's no longer
grew
a
up.
baby. It's growing. But I love that. I love that for us as a group. I love that for you all as a group too, to like move forward and start doing this thing without me. And I'm very excited to like come on with my anonymous account in the comments and like, you know, make rap dancing. That's gonna be exciting. But yeah, so I will not be part of Book Cult after today, which is I think doubly why it's so exciting that we got, you know, we have these books that Penguin Team Canada were so lovely about sending to us and so supportive about sending to us, because Sheena Kamal is also Trini diaspora, right? Trini in Canada, and it's nice to see like Trini people doing Trini things and supporting Trini work. 3 of the 4 of us on screen right now are Trini. Yeah, so that's cool. I just wanted to get that out there so that folks know that this is going to continue. We'll have a new, they will have a new YouTube channel and their own socials and everything. Like it's going to be happy and cool. And I'm very excited to see all that next in the future. Okay, but now let's talk about the fucking book because it was real good.
Listen.
Real good.
Listen. I kind of stopped reading mystery thrillers because I'd started, okay, it's going to be that person. Yeah, it's that person. It became predictable. And I lost a certain amount of joy for it. And again, this is a genre that I am particularly enamored by because I'm a dark, creepy soul. So I love murder mysteries, right? Like, first line, someone dies, I'm happy. Not really, because it's fictional, so it's not real world. So I can enjoy.
It's okay if someone dies, just not
in a book. Like it's fine. Like let's start in the middle of the action.
The footnote's very important on this one. In a book.
In a book.
Well, here's what.
And Sheena decided, and Sheena said, you know what? You have your expectations. And I agree, and I appreciate that. So fuck that. I go and start not at murder. I go and start funeral. Now,
hold on.
Yeah.
I think hold on. I'm not even. I'm so excited to finally, after 6 months, have my ass in this seat for here that I've completely forgotten that we didn't actually read
The
the
blurb.
or what was the blurb.
Oh,
Yeah, we
shoot.
didn't read the blurb.
And somebody can do that
But
from the back instead of pulling it from the internet.
yes,
Somebody wants to do.
the one that is currently the one that is posted on YouTube is the one from Goodreads.
Right.
But what is actually on the back of the book is different. Who's gonna read it? Because now we can. I want to
I'll
read
read
it.
it.
Fuck it.
Oh,
I'm gonna
fuck
read
it.
it. No, it's my last day.
Oh
I'm
my
gonna read
God.
it. See, Echo agrees. That's right, Echo. I'm gonna read it.
Echo echoes your sentiments.
Yes, she does. So at the top, there's a quote from Globe and Mail. It says, "If this is the future of YA, long may it prosper." Okay, so the blurb goes, Trisha is a 17-year-old Muay Thai kickboxer of Trinidadian heritage. The fighting is intense, but she loves the rush, especially during the physically demanding competitive season. She has no problem following the #1 rule of being a woman from Trinidad: be hella face. But after she sees that her mom is just a little too at peace with her father's recent accidental death, she begins to suspect that perhaps his death was no accident at all. Trisha doesn't know exactly what happened the night her father died, but her mom, excuse me, I was eating ramen just before this, I apologize. But her mom has a new man in her life, and her strange patterns of behavior, they are repeating. All Trisha wants to do is focus on fighting, but something sinister is at work here, and she's really starting to wonder about what's going on in her own home. Exactly.
Bum,
Dun, dun, dun.
It's like the SVU thing, like dun dun. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So there were so many parallels to stuff that happened to me because my father died in front of me in the very house that I'm staying in right now. And
That's not
so
creepy.
and not at all. And like this book just hit so many notes for me because for a couple of years before I got pregnant, I did martial arts, not Muay Thai. We like tried some stuff from it, and so I did karate. So Indian heritage. Father died, martial arts. And there's just stuff after stuff, and I felt like she wrote the book for me. I'm having that moment again where there's cameras in my house and authors are writing from me and for me and all this kind of thing. And like we could just talk about the characters alone for a moment. Like just forget the absolutely brilliant plotting that took place in this book. Let's forget it and put it aside for a moment. We'll get back to that. The characters. Do you not feel like you knew each individual person?
Yes.
Like her aunt with the restaurant. I have an aunt that is make roti and she'll go on us. Okay?
Yes.
Like, it just
What?
parallels
I want
is
to
so
talk about.
great.
I want to talk for a second about something that we have, the Trinis specifically. Sorry, Brie. We have specifically complained about before, which is that so many Caribbean and especially Trinidadian books have the same setting and the same tone in the same time period, and they don't engage with life as a modern Trinidadian.
Didn't we talk about that in When the Well Runs Dry? I think you said it all
Yes.
kind of sounds. Uh-huh.
Yes.
And this book, I expected to like this book because I was like, oh, it's a thriller and it's Trini. Yeah, man, I go like this. Of course, sure. I did not expect to love this book. That, for me, is a real difference. And I feel like despite it being set not in Trinidad, but being set in Toronto, right, that did not make it feel less like a Trini book. And I feel like that's something that we should be acknowledging too, is that Trinidadians have a diasporic experience too. So many of us were born here and have lived elsewhere, whether permanently or temporarily later in life, came back, whatever it might be, right? And so many of us who left and settled elsewhere had children there who are not less Trini for not living here, really. Because it's about the culture that you're raised with, right?
Not just
And they'll come back here.
Yeah, and again, the Trini experience is going to be different from the diasporic experience as well. And I think that is, and the thing is, I'm not sure. I think she migrated when she was young, or she was born there. One out of the two. I can't remember.
Her bio says Sheena Kamal was born in the Caribbean and emigrated to Canada as a child.
Right. So what I got from her, I got a very authentic experience. She didn't try to be like, well, I know so much about Trinidad. She's like, Trinidad was this mystical, far off place from, the character was born in Canada, not Sheena. And so she was so authentic. Like there's this land that she's from, that she has this connection to, that she hasn't been to, right? And she just drew from the experiences that she had. And all of that played into the plots, the plotting and the twists and the turns, and again, the authenticity of it all, right? Because the author is a Muay Thai artist, martial artist, right? She practices Muay Thai.
Is the H pronounced in that? I always thought it was mutant. I always thought it was Thai, not Thai.
Oh, I say Thai.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe we should have Googled this in advance, how to pronounce this correctly.
Yeah, Miguel, could you do that for me? It's a H or no H?
I thought it was Muay Thai also, but
Muay Thai,
yeah. I always say Muay Thai.
I did karate, so karate is different country of origin, right? Completely different style, everything.
I mean, but should you're doing karate and pronounce how you pronounce?
No, what I'm saying is that it would not. It doesn't give me that added air of,
fair,
it doesn't make me an expert in the style or the pronunciation of the style.
Oh, BL says I feel pronounce Thai.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my filthy monolingual brain pronouncing the H. Yeah. I
want to go back to how you started this before I interrupted for like the millionth time about to read the blurb. But that this story started not with a death, but with a funeral.
Funeral, right.
Yeah.
Right. And she has, and the author went through so many experiences, because people experience grief differently. We've had a couple of tragedies locally, and the people were like, oh, well, the people who should have been grieving, they were too calm. And a lot of people who've never been through that level of grief, they don't understand the shock. They don't understand the numbness. It's not that you're not grieving. It's just that you're too stunned to move, right? And there's that moment of shock, because she was the one, if you spoiler alert, she was the one driving. So technically, it was ruled as an accident, but.
So I want to hear from.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I was literally going to say I want to hear from Side
I think it does a really good job of highlighting how we all grieve differently, right? So that the expectation of what loss looks like for people across cultures, but then across age groups, across relational situations, it really highlights very, very well how grieving is not a unilateral experience. Like, we all go through the roller coaster at different paces, at different times. Some people never even actually climb the roller coaster. They just disassociate and experience it outside of themselves. And I thought that was very, especially because similarly to I recently was going through a grieving period, a grieving process, and feeling comforted in the fact, like, my conscious mind knows this, but sometimes you forget, right? That feeling comforted reading this was comforting in the fact that, oh yeah, I don't have to have this experience. I don't have to have this overwhelm of emotion and outpour every day because something has happened. It's okay that there's still moments or quietness or soft moments. All of those things are valuable. All of those things are true and authentic to the person experiencing them.
Great.
You guys cut out for a second. What was that? Can we hear her? I can't hear her.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you, okay.
Okay, we can't hear you.
Yes, no, I was muted. That was me. That was okay. Whoops. Oops. Sorry. Bree, I was asking if you wanted to jump in and add your thoughts.
Sure. I think this is another one of those books where it you kind of go into it thinking it's one thing and then it turns out to be something completely different. Because Talia was saying a lot about like murder mystery but I want to be the devil's advocate and I want to say this isn't a murder mystery at all to me because a murder mystery, the catharsis comes from finding out who done it. And in this book, the catharsis comes not from finding out who done it. Anybody could have done it. The catharsis came from the narrator, from our character, Trisha, like coming to peace, coming to sorts with what happened. That's where the catharsis came from. So in that, I would almost characterize this less as a whodunit and more as like a coming of age processing of trauma story. So that's sort of what I took from it.
I definitely agree because I thought this would be a YA contemporary, and then I had read that I'd read this very thing here. So isn't that on the back here? There was something I read. No, it wasn't this on the back. There was something I read where it was like it was a thriller or something, and I was like, this is a thriller, But I had gone in thinking it would be a young adult contemporary novel, which I rep or hope to rep. By the way, just anybody watch it. But anyway, I went in thinking it would be a young adult contemporary, and I think that there are folks here. I'm looking at Goodreads, and there are a couple users who flagged it as thriller and mystery. But it's like 4 verse and 2 users, and most of them are it's contemporary is what or young adult contemporary. So yes, and I want to agree with Bree, and in that particular way too, there's no mystery to solve here. We know what's going on, right? The catharsis really doesn't come from that. I want to talk a little bit about the voice in this novel.
She's sassy.
This is kind of a tangent maybe to what you were talking about, Talia, about being the different experiences of being Caribbean or Trini or diaspora. We are not a monolith. We have so many different experiences, and they come in so many different ways, and they have so many different shapes. I feel like this voice is one of the many ways in which I experience that diversity, or I recognize that diversity of experiences, because she doesn't try to use Trinidadian Creole, right? But there's something about the rhythm of these sentences. There's something about the way they use that, like she chooses to use punctuation and start, like she has a lot of sentences that they will stop and then it will continue as a new sentence. And you know exactly what that sounds like when a Trini talking to you. You know what that sounds like.
Yes, I have that in my notes to mention as well, that the rhythm, the pacing.
Well, it made it easy. It made it even for me, because like I'm not Trini, but I think it helps that I know I'm friends with you ladies. And so like when the mother was talking or when the mother was going off, like I would hear it in Kier's voice.
I even vex dog.
Even vex. Exactly. And that is what I meant when I said there was something so authentic about it. It didn't feel like, you like an outsider looking on. Right.
Yeah.
And even though the character herself feels like an outsider, even among her East Indian friends, her Indian friends who are diasporic directly from
she calls them her Desi lunch.
Her Desi lunch crew, right?
Yes.
Versus like her, she is Indian, but she's also Trini, and that the Trini culture is so different from the Indian culture, and even the Indian culture in Trinidad is different from the and there's that, and there are these layers of separation, and that is what made her observances so crisp.
Mm-hmm. I also really, really enjoyed when she tried to explain Trini ways to the reader.
Yes.
Like when she's trying to explain what a jamet is and stuff.
Do anybody has that?
I did not want to mar the book with markings like I would like highlight on Kindle and stuff, so I didn't highlight anything, but I really should have put tags when I was reading it last night.
So, like the English teacher giving her the book.
Yes. And the white boyfriend who is obsessed with brown girls.
Not just that, could we talk about his nickname? Can we talk about
Columbus.
the
Oh
Columbus?
God.
So his name
He
is
was clever.
His name
Clever.
is Christopher, and he likes brown girls. It don't matter what shade of brown, where the sugar come from, what kind of sugar. He don't care. He like he little brown sugar. So she start calling him man, what the boy, classmate, Columbus, as in Christopher Columbus, which I thought was brilliant.
Hilarious.
Hilarious.
I thought that was real funny.
So that experience of somebody thinking that, and she thinks of herself as such an outsider that she can't be classed, you can't pin her down, as a person, right? Not that she was glorying in it, but she had this kind of that moment.
You could see in every and I don't want me and Talia to just like be taking over the conversation.
Yeah.
But you can see in the way she describes her relation to people that she doesn't necessarily feel like she belongs with all of these folks or like in any of these groups, except for the most part the gym. I do feel like she does believe like she belongs there. She doesn't belong with the other daisies at lunch. She doesn't feel like she entirely is at home in her own home when her father is there, and certainly not after Ravi is there. But when she is at the gym, that is her home really. And can we talk for a second about Crew?
Yes.
And the Crew relationship, her relationship with Crew. How Crew was like, that's her father. That's the man she wants to be her father. She wishes this man were her father. And she never says it. Right?
But there's that you can see that desire for his
approval.
Yeah, sorry. Yes. Words not English and right. Yeah. Flow not there. But so there's that approval. There's you're seeing her like helping set up in the gym, things like that, and she's never want to fight, and that was the best part. She's never want to fight, right? And
I'm not confused. We talking about the same character here?
Yes. Remember when she said
never want to fight?
She won 2 fights. She won 2 fights in her.
Won a fight. I thought you said she never wants to fight.
She never won.
Okay.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And so they call her lucky. Yes.
They called her lucky because she never won a fight. Which, by the way, is a very distinctly Trini thing to happen to people.
Yes, that sounds very. Yeah. I feel too though that like the gym was also mainly immigrants who lived at the gym or children of immigrants, and or at least one other person in the gym was also Caribbean, right?
And can we talk about how nobody in the gym was actually from Thailand, but they all doing Muay Thai?
Yes, because the trainer was Filipino.
Yes.
Who was from the Philippines.
Yeah. Right. So that feeling of outside, so she feels like everybody is an outsider there, technically, because there's a whole, other name for them and so on, because they're foreign boxers. Right. And because of that, she's like, okay, so if it's okay if I feel like an outsider here, because everybody's an outsider.
Well, I think the gym is one of those themes that we love so much here at Book Cult. I think I saw it as her found family. Now it is what's the word? A very dysfunctional found family, but I think it still qualifies as the found family.
And we love a found family trope here.
Oh, yes.
What are some of the other tropes that we found that we particularly liked in this book? Oh, Sai, I was saying, what were some of the other tropes that we found in this book that we really liked? So there's found family. What else was there?
Well, we definitely have the outsider.
We have the diasporic narrative, which I don't think that the diasporic narrative is a trope, but it is one that I enjoy seeing. Yeah, exactly. I think it's more like a theme. Can we talk about Jason?
We don't like Jason.
I love how said. I was like,
I could also like Jason either. We don't like Jason.
oh, tell me. I want to know all about why you don't like Jason, because I don't know that I have negative or particularly positive feelings about him.
You know, I don't think. Hold on, Echo. You gotta chill. I don't think he. He didn't stand out. Period. I think sometimes you have side characters that will stand out because they'll be super supportive or just an interesting character. Jason was just a white bread Mexican. As white bread as you can get being a Latino. He was. There was something exciting about him, I thought, and if I'm gonna go there, he was terrible in bed. So
Yes.
I
And
already hate
we
him.
know, and anyone who has seen previous episodes or past gatherings of the book cult know that we are deeply, deeply, deeply sex positive and orgasm positive in this house.
You don't send her home without.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I didn't
Without
like him. I didn't
making
like him.
sure.
I mean, somebody's got to put the O in home, right?
Wow.
Is I like that. I should write that down. That is a
But
t-shirt
Write
idea.
it down. You can make
MVP for Pammy for being like, you can take care of it yourself. Let me show you how.
Listen,
I thought was really interesting about Pammy. We have there's this I don't want to call it a trope because I don't like it. But like the wise what is it? There's always like a wise old black man or a wise old black woman.
What do they call it? The guru, I think.
magical
no, but like-
something true.
The magical, but yes, right, like magical.
I don't think
So, like, they
Pammy was black though. I think she was
No,
white.
Pammy was white, and that's why I'm bringing it up. Because
I like
Pammy
that. Yes,
Pammy
I
was
loved. Go ahead.
No, you
sorry.
first.
No. I'm like Pammy. Pammy was magical negro. She was like a magical white girl trope. It's like she flipped that. That was a flipped trope, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to call the.
I don't know. Yeah, but I
don't
like.
know. I don't know if I want to call it a trope. But it's definitely a
stereotype?
character. Maybe a stereotype is a closer is
I think
is
that's
closer
what
to
you're
what
looking for,
it would really be.
Is it more of an
But-
archetype?
Oh yes, Biel
That is
has
the
it
word.
here. Magical Negro is what he says it's called here.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's deeply harmful. I think that role when we create it is almost always is harmful against people of color and black people specifically, right? Assuming that it is a black person who is in that role. So I don't want to call it a trope, and I'm not even sure stereotype is right. I guess stereotype is closer to the word I was looking for. But like I enjoy that. And to be clear, I don't think that Pammy was the magical white woman
Yeah,
either.
because she
Like,
did serve parts for the narrative. She had a part to play in it besides
yes.
being the source and fount of what.
Yes. I don't know that I think Trisha had anything like that. She didn't really have like a mentor or somebody who she was going to and talking to and trying to find answers. She just kind of had like 2 or 3 people who she would gather, like she would bounce ideas off and then kind of gather information on her own. And I think that was really interesting in that she was a very isolated character. In ways that I don't know I often see characters be isolated like that. Yeah. And she did share her secret once or twice, but not in the way that I see most often in fiction, where like you share a secret and then that secret becomes the other person's, and then that secret becomes theirs together and they do something about it together, right? So like even though she did like share her secret a couple times, that was like, did you even like because you didn't recruit anyone to help you here. You continue to have to do this on your own. You continue the struggle on your own. And I felt like that was a very important part of the narrative where we're seeing that isolation, right? That sense of being other and sense of being an outsider. We're also seeing a super real situation because what's going to happen after you tell somebody this stuff? What really gonna happen? Not gonna happen, girl. You got it on your own.
Not just that.
Yeah.
What like the thing is, it's not that she's alone. Like you would see in other media, a lonely character, an isolated character, and they are physically alone. She has people she has lunch with. She has a friend that literally lives next door. She can, go to them.
I
She
mean, that's
has,
Columbus too. Let's be
yeah, right,
real.
as Columbus. But the point is, he's physically there,
I,
right?
I would
There's
call
a
it
certain,
superficial.
yeah, it's superficial, but the thing is, she's surrounded by people. And I think that is what made the isolation so much deeper for me in this book, is because she is surrounded by so many people that come to her that ask her if she's all right. And she has that, that I don't know, Trini thing, or this feminine. I don't know if it's Trini or if it's feminine or if it's like we all go through this, if it's a universal feeling that we can be surrounded by so many people that come to us, but we so have to be fine that she doesn't share. Because at no point in this book does she really share. She'll ask for information, she will notice stuff, and she'll start putting pieces together, but no point does she ask for help or does she reach out, you know? And again, it goes back to her being, and it's a lazy thought that her archetype is that of a warrior, but she does hold on to that warrior archetype because she's the one that needs to fix the problem. She's the one that'll fight, so to
But
speak, if you know what I mean.
at the end of the day, the only one who was going to help her problem was her. And I'm not talking about like, you know, the more complex outer. I'm talking more of the inner, because at the end, it basically, I loved how it ended because I just finished it right before we got on here, and I thought it was poetic and beautiful, and I really liked it. But what she just had to come to peace with it, come to terms with it, and accept that the past is the past, that the past is a story, and that we don't always know what happened, right? You only know what somebody tells you, but how true what somebody tells you is, right? So the only person who could come to terms with this and make peace with it was her. Like nobody could come to her, hold her hand, grab a sword, like kill a demon. Like no, like the only person who could come to terms with a very traumatic moment is her.
And the thing
I
is, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I want to address a couple of things in the chat. So Angeli says, "Did I miss the reason for power tools in someone's background audio?" I think that would be you, Talia.
Hi, yes, my neighbor is doing some work.
Yes,
So,
and we have put this off so long. We do not want to put it off again.
yeah.
For whatever other inconveniences are happening. We wanted to make sure we had our episode today. I wanted to kind of come back. So I mentioned Jason, I mentioned Crew, and we talked a little bit about like the family and how she's an outsider and stuff. I want to kind of bring this back to discussion about like that Trinidadian or Caribbean sort of family, a situation, or I was going to say family network. I don't know if that's quite the word I'm looking for. But we have in the past talked about the themes and the events and the relationships in Trini books, and air quotes Trini books, right? And again, because they're often set in a specific time period, and they're often set in a specific location, or they engage with a specific like the commute from in the bush to not in the bush, whatever that looks like.
Or from one part of the bush to the other part, so a different bush
A
elsewhere.
different part of the bush, yes, because like, and and at a certain time, in a certain time period, there was a lot more bush than there is now, things like that. I want to talk about how we see a lot of echoes of those same things that we've complained about in this book, but because I think they are modern, and because they are also told from, because this story is not an adult telling a story about when she was a child and as she got older, right? this is a story of a child, of a young adult, who is a young adult and is telling the story to other young adults, theoretically, right? So one, I think that change in voice and that change in perspective creates a huge difference, right? Because we don't get that old reflective, like, yes, well, when I was a picnic, like we don't have
Back
that.
when I was at Children's.
Yes, right. We don't have that tone that I don't necessarily want to say that those are more serious, because I think Trisha was pretty fucking serious, but she was also herself, and she will not put it on airs. And I find real stories I read, it sounds a lot like the narrators put it on some kind of something to like be telling the story, about way back when, and that really annoys me, and that did not happen here. And we still have a lot of the same kind of family drama that we see in those other books, like the whole scheme to kill the father, followed by Ravi.
Firstly, the fact that it was an outside child situation thing going on there, that was real Trini though. That was real Trini.
I mean, is that specifically Trini? I feel like that's
it's not specifically Trini, but there's a part of it that felt very Trini. Like, oh yeah, that's John from down the road. He had children in the States. Yeah, he have a child adults in the States. Right? And another thing I wanted to point out is that a lot of those books that we talk about, especially those Trini books, you always go to America, to Canada, to the UK to go for better. But her dad was living practically living in luxury. Like the mom was a maid in their house. There was somebody that was rich enough, that was privileged enough to have a maid.
But also, the father paid for the mother to go to school, paid for the mother to go to Canada. The father paid for the setup,
Yeah, he paid for the setup because he came from that kind of money, and that is the thing. It wasn't the other way around, where he had to go to Canada, make the money, and send it back for her to go to nursing school, right? And even though he paid for the setup in Canada, it was no big sweet deal, right? Because remember, they could only getting takeout, like cheap takeout, was a once a month thing that happened. Like it was like she knew when her mom, she knew as soon as mom get paid, they get in takeouts. Right. And that was such a big thing. And that was what was like a sticking point for her. That is where she started getting suspicious that things weren't adding up.
I think it was a little bit before that.
It was a little bit before, but that was like her
it looks like I feel like it looks a little like Seidel wanted to say something.
Sorry.
No? I was like, because I really feel like you and I are dominating this conversation.
Yeah.
So let's hear from Sai and Bree. Talk to me,
let's hear about that.
So,
what did you think
about?
I'm
COVID brain right now. So.
This is true. This is like so not the ideal time, but like if we put it off anymore, it's just never going.
No, we have to do it. COVID be damned.
Going.
What was the question?
I was asking, how did you feel about the familial relationships and sort of all of the bad things that everybody was doing and all that was happening, especially in the context of what? Yes, only Bacchanal, exactly that.
I'm like laser focused in on the mom, because the mom really, I'm looking at it from like a true crime perspective, and I'm like, she's a Black Widow. She killed one. She got the other one to kill the one. And then she's going to poison the second one. Like, were you ever just going to keep one? Like, what's going on here? So for me, like, she was conniving and planning and all for, I mean, I guess for her to have one glorious moment at the end where it's kind of like a redeeming moment. No spoilers, I don't know. She has her redeeming moment, but I don't think that at all cancels out that she's a Black Widow. And for no good reason, because did she have to kill him? I mean, he lived in Trinidad. They were thousands of miles apart.
But he'd visit and beat him However, I just want to state my caveat when I did that. As a feminist, I support women's rights, but out of balance, I also support women's wrongs. So she was an outside woman.
Talia, murder's wrong. We don't kill people. We get divorces, we get restraining orders, we can move and disappear. She could have gone to California, you know, like she could have gone somewhere else.
She could have gone to another part of Canada. I think I figured out, and I figured out while we were chatting, why I love the mom so much.
I had to hear this. Tell me.
She threw her daughter down the stairs. Okay. She had a clavicular separation.
There's stuff
she treated Trisha like a possession, not a daughter.
Yeah. Yep. And and there were so many things that happened in that book that were just so personal, you know. But what I loved about I love the character of the mom. Not that I love the mom, not that I want to meet her in real life or anything like that. But I just loved the writing of the mom because you could kind of feel the same way Trisha felt trapped, mom felt trapped. Because she got pregnant, she left. And he's coming to visit every so often. Every time he comes for food, sex, and licks. And to share katas or two. Right? And it's like, really? And it's like, you know, the mom built her life. The mom built her life there. She's working at the hospital. She has her daughter there. Her daughter's in school. And there's a certain level of, this is my life. And I'm going to have to put up with stuff because here I am. Right? Like, I'm not going to move just because, I don't want to say something and make it sound like a vex to this neighbor. Let's pretend I hated my neighbor. I'm not going to move just because I don't like my neighbor. Right? He only does this work on weekends. I should have gone the other side of the house. But I'm not sat up on the other side. But I'm not going to hate on him because this is my home. I grew up here. This is the house my mom brought me home to when I was born. Right? You know, and there's a lot of legacy and so on. But the mom built her life and this man was just screwing it up. Right? And then when the dad...
Here's a question. Are we talking about the father as the man who just screwed it up? Or are we talking about Ravi? Or are we talking about both of them?
I think both of them. I think that because they were from the era that they don't talk, they just try to fix it. And sometimes, you know, I'm going to quote Joseph Stalin, where he says, death solves all problems, no man, no problem. And I just felt like the mom took that to heart. And it's like, look, I will need one man to fix the problem with the next man, and then I had to get rid of that man too. So... one murder not going to solve everything, but I think two would, you know, two wrongs don't make a right, but maybe two murders and find the peace. That's like a feeling I get from the mom.
I only agree with a small part of that. I feel like, I don't know if Seidel is like squinting because she does not hear us properly, or if she has something to say.
Is Talia?
It's a combination of the two, to be quite honest. Like, the music here is very loud, and I'm like, I don't want to bombard the chat with Kesha and whoever else playing in the background.
Tell us. Because, I mean, you and Bree need to talk. It cannot just be the can.
And I really like Kesha, so go right ahead.
And also, the cafe is like closing, like they're wrapping up. So, but so as far as the relationship, what I will say is I really resonated with, or what I thought was very accurate and interesting to see, is the dynamic of these, of Auntie Kay, Tammy, and the mother, these sort of three women, who are scheming and planning, but also, okay, so let me preface by saying I don't agree with the fact that they shouldn't have killed the man, right? They have all kinds of other options before we kill a man. But that said, they are all here trying to do something about a situation that is harmful to this woman, and may not be the best solution, but they are, for lack of a better term, colluding to find a solution for her. And I think that is very Trinidadian. I think that is very Caribbean. There is something about the community, the village, not just looking out for the child, but looking out for each other. And so I enjoyed their relationship and their bond. And it was also very interesting seeing Trisha witness them and know that something is going on, but still feel so outside and far removed from it. As a girl growing up predominantly around women, and knowing that there is something happening here, there is, I'm not seeing the whole picture, and still not being able to see the whole picture, if that makes any sense, of being able to identify that there is more going on here, and still feeling so in the dark of what is the more that's going on here, while still being treated like an adult, and while in that sort of Caribbean way being adultified of, well, you have to go and do all of these things and be a woman and take care of all of these things, but these other responsibilities are not for you. These are the burdens you won't have to bear. So I just thought that was a very truthful representation. And then the interactions with something about Ravi. I don't actually know anybody like him, but he feels very familiar, which is very weird. Like I can't think of I have
I feel like we all know.
I experienced my Ravi situation after my dad died.
I feel like we all know either a Ravi or of a Ravi.
Yes.
A Ravi is one of our archetypes. That's a pretty archetype.
I had an epiphany while you were speaking. I got kind of Macbeth vibes, where they were, three witches, stirring a brew, this kind of thing, and that's the mom, Pammy, and the sister, and the aunt, right? They cooked up this scheme to solve a problem, and the problem was man. Right.
Well, and what I really liked too was that in the beginning, they had their little scheme, and they brought Trisha into it as a poor thing. You had this accident. It was raining. It's not your fault. And they treated her that way. And then in the last few pages, at the climax, they're like, here's the story. This is what's going to happen. So it's like it's almost like they have like a, a little blanket, like poor thing. And then at the end, it's like, no, you saw this, you saw what happened. This is how it's going to be. And so it's almost like she got initiated into this murderous woman club.
Exactly what I thought was. That is exactly how I felt about it.
What I also thought was interesting was, so I don't know if anybody else got this vibe, but so she kept making note of the fact that while Trisha was talking to police with Connie and whoever, Jason kept watching her. Something about the idea of Jason being so engaged in the witnessing of them, and with the knowledge that she had called him, so he knew something was going on. Something was amiss. This wasn't just he is drunk, right? And then Jason stepping her. And then Jason stepping forward and saying, I'm vouching for her of this is the situation, the story is the story. Something about that also felt like a different kind of initiation, or a different kind of welcoming of this sort of bystander that we've seen throughout the entire book become more prominent in her life and more solidified, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Yeah. And
no,
I like that you use the term initiation, because I kept getting this kind of, it wasn't just the use of the term superior, because that's something I want to come back to, right? The book that her teacher gave to her, and he gave it to her, and it felt like he was being, like, he did a racism, like he was just, oh, you're a Trinidadian, here's a book by a Trinidadian, here, right? Oh, you're Trini stuff, here, right? And then it turned out that, she couldn't finish, she gave it back to him, and then she came back to it because she started seeing things, right? And I had to read this book a second time because I'm trying to figure out in all of the fights, when did someone touch her neck? Why does she have bruises on her neck?
I thought they were making out.
But I thought I don't think that he was making out with her to the point where she was bleeding from her neck.
Not just that, in terms of the fights, because I looked, I was like, okay, he never gave her a hickey. Right? Because I went back specifically to look for that. I kept looking at the fights again and like marking where was, where connected, what happened, and nobody, and why was she having bruises on her neck? There was zero reason for her to have bruises on her neck. Physically speaking, and it's like, it was this illusion, like, like magic is real kind of moment, Sukuya exists. Yeah,
I had also assumed that it was Jason until there was something, or maybe it was her lip. There was a point where she picked at something until it bled.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, it's not a hickey. Hickeys shouldn't do that.
Bleed,
What's
yeah.
happening?
Yeah. So for anybody
Oh
who
no, I
isn't
see the cafe closed. And you've been
evicted,
I am now just on the streets of New York. It's fine.
that feels so exciting. Like, here I am in my book club in New York. This is what New York looks like. Book club is, yeah.
There was something I had wanted to say about the relationship and the mother when you were talking about the mother, Talia. I
Yeah.
feel like this is something to note. I don't know that I would say that it is so important, but I think that it is interesting, if nothing else, to note that the mom, the relationship, right, between the two of them and how it changed over time after the death of her father, I thought was really interesting. Because at the beginning, you don't have any indication that she is afraid of her mother. We don't get an indication that she is afraid to be home and afraid of her mother in the setup or anywhere in the beginning of that book, right? She does not begin to fear her mother until after her father dies. And most importantly, until after she witnesses her mother. Well, I mean, yes, when the mother tried to beat she with the rolling pin. But I think the part that stuck for me was the part where Ravi knocked the container out of her hand and tell her, oh, well, so and so it had to be 9 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. And she wasn't even paying attention to Ravi. She was just watching her mother like, you letting him do this to me? You
Because
letting him do this to me? Because at that point, she's no longer the mother that loves and you had a mute Talia. Them beating up hammer or nail or something. I don't know. It's because at that point, she's no longer because the mother didn't let the father do that kind of thing to her either, right? But suddenly here is Ravi, and Ravi is doing whatever. And so that was the moment, I think, for me. Because like the mother, trying to swing the rolling pin at she or whatever, and she gets some bruises, and okay, yes, fine, that is horrible, and I would be afraid also of somebody who tried to beat me with a rolling pin. That's ridiculous. But I don't think that was the moment that her fear.
I also
Like,
think, oh God, just not finished.
we'll hold that thought. But she wasn't looking at Ravi when Ravi was telling her that. She was looking at her mother. And at that point, her mother was no longer the person protecting her. The mother was complicit in all the bad things that were now happening to her and all of the abuse that was happening with her or to her. Down to until and then she pushed her down the stairs.
you were
Yeah.
gonna say something.
Yes, Seidel.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I don't think she was afraid, even when the rolling pin thing happened, because there's this idea, and I wonder, God, I didn't finish my full reread of the book, so things are foggy. But there is this normalization of correct abuse as correction in Caribbean households, which is a holdover from slavery days. But it's and to some degrees, it is useful, right? If you do a thing that I'm so distracted. There's so many things happening in the streets. If you do something that is putting you in danger, then it is a safety mechanism, right? It is their own acting out of a trauma response of this will keep you safe. I will hurt you now so you won't get hurt later. And so I don't think
hurt now to prevent a big hurt later.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And so I don't think any of her relationship with her mother was fearful until that moment. Okay, you're right, of realizing that there is another person now who is suddenly allowed to invade my space in a way that even my father was disallowed to. Yeah. And it was very
not just again, the whole reason she started Muay Thai, you kind of got the feeling that she was hoping to someday be able to get into a fight with her father to defend her mother, right? So her mother wasn't somebody that she needed to be afraid of up until that point. Her mother was the person that needed her protection, right?
And she
it
said
comes
that
back,
often, that
right,
it was
yeah,
about, it was always her and her mom. And
is
it
me
was
and
always her
mom.
and her mom and her and her mom, yeah.
Right. And that she knew that her mom, like to her mom made sacrifices for her. And so there are certain things she would do for her mom, right? And that is why she punished herself in the gym. It was so that she could one day be able to protect her mom. And with her father being dead now, she is now trying, okay, so she had this idea of what her life was like. And what do you do now? Now that has happened, what do you do now? What kind of life are you going to have? And now she's holding on to the gym because gym,
I don't know that I
That's
got that
true to the point
impression.
of grieving.
Yes.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
do because
She started going to the gym to do one thing, and then the gym became it grew out of that and became this community kind of thing.
I don't feel like the gym grew post the father's death. I feel like the
No.
gym was what it was the whole time.
No, what I'm saying is
And
the gym grew from when she first started Muay Thai, not after the father's death. Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Sorry, my
But
bad.
I think there is something
Hi.
interesting to what you're saying there, Nicola, about the idea of grief and the fact that she's not just grieving the loss of her father that she wasn't really in a relationship with. So it's not, there's a difference there. I think what she really was trying to get past was this idea of what she thought her life would be, with all of these playing factors, knowing what this would look like, and now not knowing anything, and being uncertain, but clinging to the idea of her and her mother, and then having this character Ravi be introduced, and now it's a complete shit show. She has no idea which direction is north, because there are no more familiar figures in her life. There are no more
you're
familiar
right.
things.
Well, and I think,
Landmarks, not goalposts. Sorry, free.
oh, you're fine. No, I think also, I think how it was so shocking too, in that moment where Ravi, sort of started to like lay hands and cross boundaries, was sort of the devil, right? She knew her mom's actions. She knew her mom's patterns. Was her mom the greatest? No, but like she could dodge it. She could, she could, she could maneuver it. And then when Ravi sort of started pushing boundaries and her mom didn't defend her, suddenly now the routine, her coping mechanisms were no longer valid. And then also how you all were talking about the gym. I found that really interesting because, like you said, it was a method to protect herself when her father was alive. But then her father died, and then Ravi came along, well, was murdered. Ravi came along, and then at the end, she actually lets the gym go, but she's okay with it. And I kind of see it as, like that trope or that theme in movies where like a character like floats away into the ether and it's like, you don't need me anymore. You're fine without me. And it's kind of like, I feel like the gym was that. The gym just faded away and it was okay. Like she didn't need it anymore because now she was able to make peace with what happened with the story and accept it as part of her past, but that the past doesn't matter now. Now she's in college, she's got a boyfriend, she can be whoever she wants to be. And that's sort of what I took away from it.
Yeah, no, I got like I love the fact that she didn't she stopped fighting, which is very weird for me. Like the father is very abusive, and one of the things that I noticed was that he had refused to pay for her to go to college, right? So she would have had to get a job, and she would have had to limit the way she was, like her plans. She wouldn't be able to be like her friends. She'd either have to get a job or get a job and give up the gym, or not be able to go to college.
I
And
don't
so
know that
I feel
not
like
her friends though.
but not like I just felt like she had like she wanted a certain, if not her mom wanted a certain lifestyle for her. So she was like, listen, this man who used me as a young woman cast me aside and then have the audacity to be popping up here, right? And with expectations while he have a whole wife and children back home, right? And I'm not excusing the mom, but like the mom, I think the mom had her own version of me and my child, me and Trish. And because she was so focused on like survival, Trish became this thing she had to protect, not this person she had to protect. And that is why she was so objectified. That is why she was this object to exert her control over. You know what I mean?
And I think that's actually a really important point, because when we get to that same moment where he knocks the container out of her hand and she's looking at her mom and how her mom is letting this man treat her that way, it was immediately after that we noticed that Ravi was basically being poisoned,
Yes.
right?
No,
So I
we were under
definitely
the
think
impression that he was an addict. Like, oh, he's an addict. He's using mom.
no, I don't know
kind
about
of
no
thing.
under the impression, nothing. It was very clear to me that the mother was poisoning this man.
But she couldn't say, Trisha, don't worry, baby, I'm defending you. I'm poisoning this MFer.
Exactly.
It had to be kind of a like, I need to stay quiet. Oh, because she
Yeah.
says it actually. She grabs her daughter at one point and says, you don't, I think before they go down the stairs. And she says, like, you don't know the sacrifices I made for you. So I think she feels justified in the poisoning and the murder.
Yeah.
Of course she does. Of course she does. Psychopaths always.
You, no, you know that joke about the psychopath? A psychopath, to a psychopath with a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
I think, is it a psychopath or is it just to a person with a hammer?
No, it's specifically to a psychopath.
Is it? Okay. All right.
But that's inflation. Again, deep twisted.
Well, her hammer is pharmaceuticals because she's a nurse. So.
Yeah, and that is what I was thinking. And she's like, this is within my wheelhouse. Somebody getting a poison today. Somebody getting poisoned today. Right? Somebody get poisoned
Wild.
today. Because she poisoned her own daughter. Followed by
did she poison her?
When did she poison Trisha?
She drugged the dinner that they were coming back from. She had drugged Trisha, and that is why she was so woozy and dizzy, and she was throwing up and so on. It was.
I thought that was just trauma. Like, even Seidel doesn't even remember that. I read this thing last night. Are you sure?
Yeah.
But look,
Wait,
the
what's
reason
the indicator?
If she has access to drugs, right, and this was a whole scheme, why did they let Trisha behind the wheel knowing how Trisha could drive?
No, I don't know. I feel like I have to go reread it, but the only reason I'm gonna go against what you just said is because at the very end, when they're kind of doing the final reveal, the mother was not planning on Trisha hitting the father. They were planning on Robbie doing it. They were just gonna arrive and like, oh no. But she got a call in the car, and the mom is like in the side, like listening to Pammy, getting all upset. And that's when the hand goes on the wheel and pulls the wheel over. She had to come up with a quick plan B. So I don't know that Trisha was drugged.
I don't think Trisha was drugged. The point was to take Trisha out of the house. Trisha was traumatized as fuck.
No, I think she had suspected it. She had because remember also we're going with unreliable narration, huh? Like
yes.
Moments of and so she as in Trisha thinks it is entirely possible because she was feeling. Remember, she's an athlete, right? She's an athlete. She's not the world's greatest, but she's still an athlete. So there's a certain amount of being in touch with her body that she is, and so she is suspecting to herself, mom has access to drugs. What if Ravi is using her to access drugs for his addiction? And these were all the what if scenarios that had played in her mind. And that was one of the scenarios that had played in her mind. She's like, but this had happened. Like somewhere, like either her food was unattended or she was given something extra to eat. I think like all of that, like she had looked at all of that, and it was one of her what ifs. Was I poisoned? Was I drugged? That was. Yeah.
I do remember after her mother broke her flicking arm or whatever. I did wonder if the mother was over drugging her or overdosing her then on painkillers and stuff.
Yeah.
Then because of the pattern we had seen with Ravi.
I think that was out of guilt though.
But that was also after she hit the father.
Mm-hmm.
That was also after she hit the father. I don't think that I saw anything that indicated that she was drugged that night. But I don't think that you're necessarily wrong. I feel like part of what makes this writing good is with this unreliable narrator, we get to draw some of our own conclusions of what the truth might actually be. And I did wonder if she was drugged, but I didn't think that was actually what happened that night like on the thing.
This is what I think
revealed-
because I read this book as soon as I got it. So it's been a minute since I read it.
Yeah, no, well, I
Um,
mean, I think either
yeah.
way, whether she's drugged or not, I don't think that
Unreliable analysis. I feel feelings are not facts, but I feel like she was like, if mom is so willing to drug Ravi, to source drugs for Ravi, could she have drugged me? And I think that came after her mom pushed her down the stairs.
Mm.
Right. And so due to reasons, I think that moment of paranoia where these are the things that are happening that are shaking my foundations. What else could possibly go wrong? What has gone wrong? Because all of these thoughts are swirling in her head. Her mom, who literally is a nurse, and I think that this is what struck me. Her mom is a nurse, right? Her mom saves lives on a daily, and her first thought to handling a problem is to take a life, and that is because she personally knows how touch and go life could be, like how easily it could be snuffed from us, like how easy an accident could take us out, so to speak. And that was just like, and so she is thinking that, and this paranoia because you're 17, hormones all over the place. You overthink everything because you're 17. That's what 17-year-olds are supposed to do. And and these are all the thoughts that she had swirling. And therefore, these are the thoughts that we now have swirling in our heads, right? And I loved Trisha.
It's okay if these are the thoughts you had swirling in your head, but I can't say that this is all. This is a me.
No, I mean, like,
but I do think that that's valid. I do think that that's valid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I want to know from you guys, because when I read it, I had to read it a couple times. Was she pushed, or it says she pulled her arm away, but her mother came with her. So was it an accident? Did she go to like pull away and she pulled her mom down the stairs with her, or the mom refused to let go, or did the mom push her? Like, I don't know what happened.
I think this is another moment where the unreliable narrator allows us to decide how we think that really happened, just like what Nicola / Talia is describing about the whether or not she was drugged on that night, right? One of the reasons too, though, that I actually feel she wasn't, though, as I remember it, is because she was driving. Like, why would you put somebody who is drugged to drive your car the whole way? It's not like he stopped a block away and was like, "Hey, come take a turn in the parking lot." That's different.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the impression that was what the mother was like. But I digress because I have too many thoughts at once. Sorry. Yes. So I think that part on the stairs is one of that one is, for me, it seems left open to interpretation, because I was under the impression that what happened was she was pushed down the stairs. So like, you pull the hand away and the mom comes with you. Yeah. That's what I got. It sounded to me like her mother fell down the stairs also, but I don't know from when you line up all of the various things that have been unreliable and what they were in the end, what the equal sign was when we figured it out. It sounds to me like when the mother came with her, the mother didn't fall with her. The mother just followed. Yeah, like the step or two until she was down the stairs. Like that's what it seemed like to me. But at the end of it, I keep coming back to that relationship with the mom, right? And how, like you said, Talia, that she was a possession, and how Trisha also viewed that possessiveness between the mother and whatever man.
Mm-hmm.
And describe that possessiveness between the mother and her father, or the mother and Ravi. And I wonder what like a part 2 for that would look like how Trisha views those relationships moving forward.
Yeah, I think she would have already had like a one thing I wanted to have done was go through, the attachment styles and their characteristics, and try to play that off with the mom and with the dad, and like how they all, like those three in particular, right? And see how that played off. And one of the things that I don't think that the mom tried to push Trisha, but I think she definitely tried to push Ravi. Yeah, she tried to push Ravi. I may have misinterpreted something that was said earlier, but she tried to push Ravi, and she got pulled down into that, because I don't think that she did not like Trisha. I think that because the mom had her own attachment issues, her own trauma issues, right? That there was only a certain way she could interact with Trisha. And that was, this is my child. This is, this child is mine, and I have to do this, and I have to do that, and it's me, and what that translated into was, you found it?
I did. I found it. I had a moment, but no. Finish your thought, and then I want to read the passage.
Okay, so that would kind of clarify things to me, and because I was comparing.
I can find it in the meantime.
Yeah, because one of the things I was comparing Trisha's mom to was that first book that we did, Rivera, the mom. Like, I want the best. I want to affect a certain kind of change. How do I do it? And they were like, can I talk to you about my Lord and Savior murder? Right? I just got that vibe. Like we're gonna fix this problem. Let's just kill somebody, right?
Did you just say, can I talk to you about our Lord and Savior murder?
Yeah.
Why do you like this?
Much ideas.
So it's funny because we talked about it. So I felt unsure when I read it. I felt unsure, and I read it a couple of times. Then we talked about it, and then I read it again after us discussing it. And all of a sudden, I see it differently. So that just tells you the quality of this writing. But I want to read it. I want to read it really quick. It's one paragraph.
Hold on. Tell me the page so I can read along.
Sure. The page is 160. And right before the passage I'm going to read, she's talking about not recognizing her mother, the way she looks, the way she speaks. Like, I don't recognize who you are. And then it says, so here's the unreliable narrator. I'm not sure if it's an accident what happens next. And it says, all I know is that I pull away and she goes with me with force. Either the wall or the landing breaks my fall, I don't know, but my arm twists under me and the pain is like nothing I've ever felt before. I look up at her stark face, and it's not until I feel the tears drip off my chin onto the floor that I realize we're both crying. So actually now I don't see her going down with her. I see her standing at the top of the stairs being like, oh shit. Trisha being, oh shit. Oh yeah, she got pushed. Okay, I see it totally differently now. She got pushed.
Yeah, this bitch push her whole child down the stairs. Now, I think my mother watching, so this might get me in trouble, right? But here we go anyway. So I think that, I don't know if this is a Caribbean parents thing or like a West Indian parents thing. I don't know what this is like. And I don't have human children, so I don't know if it's just a mom thing. But I definitely see in real life and in fiction a narrative around parents. Often it is mothers who view their child, like you were saying earlier, Talia, as a possession. And when that possession doesn't behave in exactly the same way that they want the possession to behave in, right? That possession gets punished because they're mad. You're not allowed to have your own thoughts. You're not allowed to think something differently to what I have told you you should be thinking. You're not allowed to do those things. You're not allowed to be your own person. You are mine. And that whole you are mine thing, that line specifically happens in here. You're mine, my baby, mine. And the mine is emphasized more than the you're my baby, you're my child.
And right? Not just that. I mean,
so
Sidel,
Sidel?
No, I'm just echoing what you said, right? It's all because you said you're not sure if it's a Caribbean thing or West Indian thing or whatever. I think it is that's not just a Caribbean thing, but I think that is another one of those holdovers from slavery
Yes.
because it's the same way that we
Generational trauma.
the same way that we discipline children is the same way that slave masters discipline their enslaved persons. Is you will
You are
not behave this
mine.
way. You will not do anything against my will. You will not, because you belong to me. You are my property. I own you. And we see that time and time again that with that generation in specific of parenting. Like, I can think about my grandmother and her relationship to my mother. And I know that my grandmother loves my mother dearly, fully, completely. But the dynamic of the two of them, hearing the stories of when my mother was growing up versus me experiencing my grandmother growing up, and having my mother, with the wisdom that she's had in her age, be able to confront my grandmother with some of those things, was very much that idea of, you are mine. You are an extension of me. You are not your own individual entity. And so you will act in the way that I prescribe that you act. And all of that is a holdover from the way in which punishment was doled out during slavery.
I mean,
I
you know,
love
like
how
when you
my
have the
mother.
remote.
I love how my mother is in the chat saying, "Stop lying, eh?" on behalf of all Caribbean mothers. But you know, we also not lying though. We are not lying though.
So I have stories for you all that are gonna have to take place off camera so that I
What's
don't get
still
sued.
mine? LOL. One.
Exactly. But not just that. Not just that. You have a remote that's not working. A remote is a possession. It's an object. A remote not working. What's the first thing you do? Click the two tap. So if it go work for the remote, why can't I work for another possession like a child? Why? That's the kind of mentality they just have. Right? And like I distinctly recall in church, right? We were told that children are born with misshapen bottoms, right? And so you have to whack it into shape. And you know when to whack it into shape because you'll do something wrong.
Somebody told you this in church? This was
No.
That is hilarious.
Somebody didn't tell me this. This was an elder. This was a senior person in church leadership that told the congregation that.
So I want to pull on this thread that my mother has now allowed me to unravel, because she's saying in the chat, also, your actions reflect on me. You'll remember that whole long
Don't
discussion
embarrass
we had
me.
about that.
Don't embarrass me.
When we were reading Till the Well Runs Dry,
Right.
that was a big thing too. Don't embarrass me. You're bringing shame on my family. I do not, and for sure I know that is not a Caribbean thing. This is something that I have heard from so many different people from so many different cultures, that they experience something like this, right?
We used to get the "you are a reflection of me," so
Yes,
you
that's
better
exactly. Look, that is
straighten
exactly
up.
what my mother just typed in the chat.
Yeah, reflection of me.
Well, I
You said,
didn't do that.
you have no brought up
What you
see.
didn't do,
You have
Mom?
no brought up see. And I mean, there is
Yes,
a level of
brought
truth
up
to that, right? Of the fact of the matter is that you are being trained at home on how to behave in society and how to interact with other people. You're being taught social norms. So there is some truth to the idea that we are, in some part, reflections of our parents. But there also needs to be a very clear acknowledgement that we are also our own individual beings.
And I think that is a failure on behalf of parents. And as a mother of human children, I can tell you, where do you say, okay, this is where, like, I'm trying to influence my child to be this way, right? At what point do you say, okay, I respect your choices and I understand that you're a different entity from myself? And that is a level of self-reflection that a lot of people prior to our generation will not do. And from my experience with one of my parents, who I shall not name, that is something that they have deliberately chosen to not be capable of doing. You understand? And you will hear people talking, Caribbean people, say, big as I was, married a children in my own house. And I couldn't, and my mother feel I do something wrong. She put 2 slaps on me. Right? Or I wasn't any wrong, my mother was wrong, but I had to hush my mouth and take my slap because I have respect. It's like, no,
All
you
your
have
real
dotishness.
All you're real good. You're damn right to have dotishness.
That is not respect, that is stupidness. right?
Ooh,
And
ooh.
I mean, I can give you again. I can give you all stories, and like after my dad died, that will echo like a lot of similar themes that are in this book. And like I said, this book was wildly traumatizing for me on a number of reasons. And like I looked, but one of the things that I really, really appreciated, um, there's a thing in therapy now where a lot of therapists are saying it's okay to go no contact. It's okay to if it's not working out, if your boundaries are being crossed, then you can feel free to not go to go no contact with your parents and so on. And she didn't go no, and I go to say Sheena. I'm tired. Sorry. Trisha didn't go no contact with her mother. She didn't abandon her mother, right? She kept in touch with her mom, right? She understood her. She didn't agree with her mom, but she understood her. You know what I'm saying? And
It's part of the initiation that we saw, right? Is that
right,
now, yes. Look at my mother trying to defend herself in the chat. Mommy, nobody's saying you has a bad mother. You're all right, Look
no, no,
there. A good.
Carry again. A hashtag not all moms moment.
Not all moms, yeah.
We know it's not
Yeah.
all moms, but it's enough moms.
And my mother said, I never cared about the reflection thing. I provided the environment that allowed you to grow into you today. It's true, you did. You did. Okay. Nobody's saying that you did anything. Anyway, I am keenly aware that Seidel is literally on the streets of New York, standing there with her phone for what, like a half hour now, 15 minutes at least. Yeah. And so it has been an hour and a half. I know that like probably a half hour of that was also us just kind of like talking and talking about how it's the first time since this is a while and all of that stuff. Do we want, because I think we still have a lot more to say and to talk about, like this relationship with Ravi. I think we haven't talked much about Auntie K, and how Auntie K was there. Right? Like she was in New York instead of Toronto, and yet she was there all the time. Like the moment that it was necessary.
Auntie K was the cool aunt. The cool aunt archetype.
No, she was not no cool aunt.
No. Think about it like
not.
this. No, think about it like this. Think about it like this. She was the aunt that was there. She was the one that she was willing to escape to at one point in time.
I had to disagree with that.
Yeah.
Say now. Go.
Yeah.
Tell us.
I was just saying I disagree. I don't think she was the cool aunt. I think she was the cool aunt in the sense of, if I think of myself 5 years ago living in Trinidad, there is someone out here who I think of very much as Auntie K, of this single woman living in New York, doing for herself, building for herself, creating a life. That is entrancing to a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
But as an adult, there are parts of me now that life has lost a lot of its glamour, because she is this woman that is alone, whether by choice or not. She is isolated in this large city, trying to build a life for herself and desperately looking for community elsewhere. And I don't know that that's necessarily the cool aunt that you want to go to in an analysis of her. But then even in relation to Trisha and how Trisha viewed her, I don't think she viewed her as a cool aunt. She viewed her, I don't even think she viewed her as an escape per se, because it was always these memories and experiences of Trinidad that Trisha was not interested in participating in. Like, she didn't care about hearing about the old country and politics, and she didn't care about any of those things. So I don't even think that it was the escape for her in that way at all either. I think
No, there was a time when she wanted to escape. Like I said, I read this book as soon as I got it.
I want to hold on, because I want to get us to a certain point, so that we, Seidel can tell us whether or not she just wants to drop the phone and go the hell home, or if, according to my mother, girl, find a bench now. I think Seidel is there because she needs Wi-Fi.
No, it's just like I'm literally like two streets away from 42nd Street, which means all of the people ever in the world. This is an empty street, so I'm just gonna stand here.
I got it. Okay. So what I was saying is, I agree with Seidel. I do not think Auntie K was a cool aunt, because All that Trisha had to say about Auntie K was that, oh God, this bitch is talk. That's all. That's all. She's talk. Is go one in one ear out the next. Does it? Does it?
Yeah, I'm
There
mixing
was no
up.
cool.
No,
There was
yeah,
no
no,
cool
I'm mixing
about
up.
what.
I'm mixing up characters.
Well,
Yeah,
who? There was a cool aunt. There was no cool aunt in
no,
there.
no, no. What I'm saying is that there was somebody she could have spoken to, that she could rely on to not go and tell her mom. Who did she tell about sex when she had sex with Jason?
Who? Pammy?
Pammy. That's a
Pammy is
neighbor.
not the cool aunt either. Pammy
No,
is not the cool aunt either.
but no, you don't. Yeah, but you don't. Okay, so when you grew up in in a
Nor. You're
household like
thinking about
that,
Nor. Are you thinking about Nor?
I don't know.
The girl. She's in the gym.
From the gym.
The girl from the gym. Nor. With the one with the fiance.
That she kind of looked up to and so on.
But Nora and Amanda, exactly. I think they were much more like sister type figures than I would
Yeah.
say like auntie
Yeah,
figures.
but like not yeah, but there was like a certain, again, there was still a certain removal because they had what she saw that they had a certain kind of polish that she didn't have. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Right.
even though I think I know why I saw Pam as the cool aunt in a moment. It was just this one moment where, this girl who is so isolated, who doesn't share her secrets, she doesn't tell. She told this one thing that's supposed to be this huge thing to Pam, and that's when they had that conversation, and that's when she got the books and all this kind of thing.
I mean,
Like I said, it was just this one moment, and I feel like I'm confused. Like I'm what do you call it when you have multiple characters and you kind of squish them together? You do it as a writer, but I think because I'm so far
right.
from the book, I haven't done it. Because
I
I'm
get
kind of
what you're
hoping
saying.
to get
Because
some
that's
time.
kind of like how I was thinking. Because I was thinking about like what was it that BL said is called the magical Negro.
Yeah.
I don't even like saying it. Saying that term. I feel like it's so. Ugh. Anyway. But so it was kind of like that. It's like I feel like Pammy's a white woman, and so one, there was no magical whatever, and Pammy had like her moment of being like the like a white mom, like this is a thing, and that was kind of like as close to the cool aunt slash like magical whatever composite character. Thank you, BL. Look at us, professionals in publishing and writing, and we don't know things. We don't know words. Look at that. Whatever. I'm gonna blame it on the fact that I'm still trying to eat something.
I haven't either eaten or slept yet, so
Yes, and you haven't slept in 6 days.
yeah.
So what I was trying to say earlier
Right.
was, do we want to start leaning into our wrap up? I feel like we do have still a lot of thoughts. It took us a little while to like get going and get into the discussion that we normally kind of have, I think, because it's been a little while. And I feel like we have a lot more to talk about, but I also don't want to like force Seidel to like walk these streets of New York on video.
I'm good. Don't think about me. I'm fine. I'm here. I'm enjoying this.
I'm feeling like it's a very New York, like a modern New York thing to do,
Is it? I
Like,
feel like that's TV.
Like
You're watching too much TV. You're watching too much TV.
No, not TV, too much YouTube. But they're like, well, I'm here and I'm gonna get this makeup from this store. I'm gonna do a haul from Sephora, and they walk into Sephora and they do that. But yeah, so I'm just kind of
Basically I'm practicing for my blog. Just check it out. I'm on YouTube. Next video drops next week. It's fine.
Like and follow for more.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Like and subscribe for more.
Do all of the
channel.
YouTube things.
Are you even pointing in the right place when you do that?
I think so. So I know some YouTubers do this, like in the description box, because they haven't decided where they're gonna put it yet. So just point all over.
Anyway, all right. So if you're okay with it, I definitely want us to talk a little bit more about that. I want to talk about the fight part of this. I think that's a huge part of this that we haven't really dug into yet as a group. What is this? Not just her relationship with fighting, right? But also what it represented over the course of the book and how that changed as well over the course of the book, all the way to the end, up to after her initiation and all of that stuff. Who wants to go first?
I feel like I talked too much already. So.
Yeah, man, Natalia, you're not going first. Bree, how about you?
Well, I touched on it a little bit where, I kind of said fighting for her was, we talked about it, was in relation to her personal relationships. But I guess what we haven't talked about more is, I guess she had like an arch nemesis that we did get to face by the end of the book. So, up until the very end, she hadn't won a fight. She was very good at what she did. She spoke many times about being stronger than Jason. Ugh. We don't like him. Being stronger than Jason. So her strength was never questioned, but her ability to win a fight was. Mm-hmm. And at a certain point, she finally did win her fight. And I don't know if there's something more profound, if this is more of like a moment of change. Like, what did she let go to be able to win that fight? Or did she just do it out of sheer anger and frustration because like so much was coming to a head at that point in the book? So
it's called Bad Mind, which is slightly different from spite. Different fruit, same flavor palette.
I think you should expand on Bad Mind because that is also a Caribbean/Trinidadian, I think.
Yeah, right. I've never heard it.
So Kay and I would sometimes say things like, I can do all things through spite, which strengthens me. But Bad Mind in particular is when you're going to lose. You're going to lose. It have no way you're going to win. But you're not going to know when you're going to win because I will fight beyond death if I have to, right? I will push through. So it's like sparkling spite, spite but fancy.
Sparkling spite. I love that.
Enhanced spite. So one thing I noticed about her fighting style and was mentioned is that she could take the blows. And, it was very important for her to be able to take the blows because she saw her mom being abused, right? So being able to take the blows was about survival. And in some way, it's like she was practicing for that in the gym. It always felt like that to me. And then, because they'd always say, but you could have, you have the speed, you have the strength, you could have like come away from that. Because one thing with fighting, I think it was a point system. It wasn't about putting somebody in a hold. It's about scoring points, right? There was a fight that we attended, a committee, and the guy that won was dirty, right? The guy that lost, his gi was completely clean. Because it was just touch points, but should allow blows to land, should allow, herself to, because she felt like she had to practice just in case her father ever lost control with her mom. And she ended up, getting caught in that melee. And so when she had lost everything, she literally had nothing left but this one fight. Why was it so important for her to attend this fight knowing that she never won a fight before? Right? And she had lost everything. She had lost down to Jason because Jason was answering the damn phone after taking her virginity, right? And she lost everything. She lost the ability to trust her mom. She lost the ability to, she felt like she had lost Crew's approval even in that moment. And therefore she literally had nothing left to say, well, okay, this is a foundation I can stand upon. And if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose in the most spectacular manner I can, right? And so when she went to that fight, she fought with everything that was inside of her, right? And it was deliberate for her to not let the other person land those blows. She took some blows because she could, and she's showing you she could do it, right? Because it's Bad Mind. I'm showing you could take your licks. You can't knock me out, one little tap like that? Man, my mother flinged me down the steps about 2 weeks ago,
And that's how
2 weeks ago. So in terms of the fight, I felt like that physical fight.
1 second.
Yeah.
1 second. What were you saying, Bree?
Oh, I was gonna touch on like you said, she had nothing left to lose. But there's a comment about her seeing her mother in the audience. And then I think there's another comment later on when she's like with her mother in the ravine, and her mother said something like, I saw you there. But like, were these things coming out of like was the mother saying that like wishing she was there? Was she there? Like that's my question. And there is no right or wrong answer, right?
Yeah.
So I think what I interpreted that as, because I'm not good with unreliable narrators. I'm really not. I think this one was particularly good. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I am the best to interpret whatever truth should come of it. What I understood was that because that fight was the day after, so she was gone. She would have been gone for a day, and so remember that also everything was on social media, on the gym's social media, so
Yeah.
folks knew where she was going. Yeah. Or could find out fairly easily if you knew the gym. And the mother knows Jim, right? And so she's gone. By the time that fight happens, she has been gone and ignoring her mother's calls for way more than long enough for her mother to figure out where the ass she is and catch a plane down to Florida. And there is a point where she looks out of the hotel room, whatchamacallit, and she sees her mother there after the fight. Yeah? And so later on, she does say that she doesn't even remember if any of that is real anymore. Because, I mean, this woman probably had a concussion and thing. Like, she was an MS, right? And so we can reasonably say that, yes, maybe this was all made up because shit. But I want to believe that.
But then at the end, when the mother talks about the idea, God, let me get to that corner. In the end, when the mother,
you're right.
When they're looking out, and the mother says, "I saw you win that fight," even though she didn't actually like win, but I saw you win that fight. That for me was like a confirmation of, well, maybe she actually was there. Maybe she did come see her.
Yeah.
That's what I think as well. Yeah, because later on she's like, "Oh, maybe I didn't really know this or realize this or whatever." But the mother does say, "I saw you in that fight." This is after the mother is like in her wheelchair and they've moved and all of that all the way to the end. I think it's really interesting that she gave up the gym. I think it's really interesting that she gave up fighting at the end. And I feel like that event, which, well, I mean, it's not an on the page event, but it is something that we that we know happens. I feel like that is kind of a signal for us for how we interpret the rest of the story, like everything that came before with her fighting. Yeah. The what do you all feel about that? Like, how do you all feel about that, giving it up, and also about all of what came before and why she chose? Because I think we get the impression that she chooses, right, to lose, not necessarily a conscious decision. Like, she doesn't want to lose, but she doesn't take her fight with her into the ring. Her fight is everywhere else except in the ring.
Ooh, that's profound. I like that.
Yeah, I got that feeling as well. My feeling from it was she it wasn't that she needed to learn how to fight. She needed to learn how to take that punch. Then Rocky. There's a quote from Rocky, the movies. One of them, I can't remember which one of them, but one of them, and he says it's not about how hard you can hit; it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving, right? And I think there were mentions of the movie in the book, right? And I think for her, especially for having started at the age of 14, it's around 14 she started. Yeah, I think it's about 3 years experience.
I think she said 14.
Yeah, she started fairly young in the gym, but that to her, that would have been like the most profound thing she can do. She's like, maybe I can't beat my father, but maybe if my father hits me and I can keep going. So for her, it was more important to take that lash, for her to take that hit, for her to take the punches and the strikes and so on. For her to take that and to be able to survive. Maybe she could have been a shield for her mother the same way her mother is a shield for her. Because that is one thing in parentification style relationships where the roles are reversed. where the children are expected to do for parents in the way that parents do and should do for children. And she is thinking, okay, well, maybe there's going to come a time when mom can't protect me and I'm going to have to protect mom from him. Right? And then that day never comes. And then Ravi comes and he's a whole new set of danger. And then her mom changes. And then Jason, and so her winning that fight when she felt like she had nothing, that to me says, I know now I can take that hit, and I can do more than just take a hit and keep going. I can take a hit and win. And that is what that kind of showed to me. So knowing that I learned what I needed to from this moment in my life, and now that chapter is closed. Or at least it's closed for now. And that's the view I got.
As well as learning, you know, she learned how to fight, she could close that chapter. I also think that the aggressors were removed. So obviously Ravi is gone, but also her mother who, sorry.
That's fine.
Echo, come here. Her mother, who used to be somebody who was the devil she knew, but then became the devil she didn't know, became somebody she couldn't trust at a certain point, somebody she potentially feared. Now her mother's in a wheelchair and she's sitting there brushing the coconut oil through her mother's hair. So there was this very visual reversal of roles to where now the mother is benign, so to say. You know, she's no longer a threat. And when you don't have threats, you don't need a sword. So I feel like she was laying down her sword and laying down her shield when she said, I don't have to fight anymore, because now there's no threat, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a lot of what I got from that as well. But also kind of like there's this sort of, I don't know if theme is the word. I'm also getting very sleepy, like, because so I read this book, full disclosure, everyone. I was supposed to read this book when we first decided we were going to do this, like way back in March, and then all of those other things were happening and we never did. And so I never picked up the book. And then today we knew we had to have our little get together today because there was literally no other time we could do this. Not with like all of our schedules at once, and definitely not with mine because of the other things that I have happening next. So I had to read it, except I ADHD'd and I forgot. And so I picked up this book at 11 o'clock last night, and then I finished it at 2:30 a.m. this morning, and then I woke up early this morning because I had a long day, because I had a lot to do today. So I'm just letting y'all know, because there's definitely going to be some shit I don't remember. And I'm definitely not going to put words together coherently in the best possible way, because now that it's getting into after 6, my body's like, you didn't take a nap today. You didn't take a nap today. And I really want to go take a nap. So after this, I'm taking a nap. But back on track now. What was I talking about? The fighting, right? Okay, so the initiation. So we have this kind of thing that I think we've seen over the course of some of the Trini books that we've read, right? Where women, and I mean the Trini books that we've read, yes, but I think there are other books like this as well, where women fight in a specific way. Women push back, women fight back in a specific way that is not shit like Muay Thai, right? It's the way that Auntie Kay and Pammy and her mom did. Yeah. And this sort of and I thought this was also really interesting too, because like with Ravi, because you know how they say like, oh well, poison is like a woman's, you know, whatever methodology or whatever, because she was poisoning Ravi and all of these things. So I do feel like this initiation, right, into the circle of Auntie Kay and Pammy and everything is sort of an acknowledgement that she not only figured out what happened with her dad and maintained the story and didn't call somebody and tell them, oh no, this is what really happened, here's all the evidence, because she did have the evidence, right? But then she was also there when Ravi died. And, you know, she she knew she had all her faculties when that happened, and she knew what was happening to her, as well as like what happened when her mother got there. And she just let Pammy tell her, this is what happened, this is the story. And she said, okay, right? She's part of that now. And so now I obviously, it's not that I think that women don't do Muay Thai and shit, like, I'm duh. But I feel like there's a shift that happens, right? So it's not just about her dad isn't there, and so she doesn't need to be prepared to fight her dad. Her mom, Ravi isn't there. Her mom, can't fight or beat her or whatever anymore. I think it is all of that, and it is also like some of that initiation thing, like, oh well, you know how to do these things now, so maybe you don't need to be able to physically punch them out.
Yeah, you now
can-
have
you
a
can
more
duck with a win.
feminine tool belt. You have a more feminine form of combat, which is a bit more
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
mental and
Exactly.
conniving or planning, scheming.
Yes,
Scheming is the word.
you have a scheming. You have a scheme now. You have a more conniving tool set. I don't know that I want to call it a feminine tool set,
No,
but definitely I know what you mean
I call it feminine only because the sort of ideas of how women engage in combat with each other is very different from how men engage physically more often than not, and women sort of in their combativeness engage on that intellectual playing field and in that sort of planning and scheming playing field.
There's
And that's why I call it. I don't necessarily call it female, but I call it feminine.
Yeah, that's
there's
fair.
a trend
Okay.
on TikTok, where I get all my, research materials from. So there's this trend on TikTok. There's two trends. One of them is I'm entering my villain era, and then there are women saying, I'm entering my dark feminine era, which is, similar, where they're going to do certain things that would be like this. Like they should be able to write these kinds of stories because this is the era that they're in. So Mom, Pammy, and the aunt and Auntie Kay, this is their dark feminine behavior. Why am I not wording? Why am I not Englishing right? Like, this
Because
is what
you
they're
also
doing.
haven't slept in 6 days. We are not at our best today, Olia. Okay, we are not at our game. We are
I
not
used
at
to
the
argue a
top of
lot
our
of
game.
dumb shit with other guys and bitch. Yeah. But yeah, it's about the different ways in which we fight, right? Like, she would fight physically in the gym. Mom, Pammy, and Auntie Kay, they would fight using schemes and poisons and so on. We all did some measure of activism. We have our arts. We write. We do poetry.
Yeah, I feel like it's a short game versus long game kind of situation.
Right, but it's also that we are all different people, and I think this goes against the idea that women do this, women do that, women poison. So you have one woman that poisoned, but you also have one woman that went to a gym and learned to physically fight and could take care of herself and handle herself in a gym. You know what I mean? In a fight scene, in a fight situation, and it goes back to what does it mean to fight like a girl? Who fought like a girl? And if we are going with our outmoded definitions of what fighting like a girl means, it should be like poison your mother. Then that would be Mom. Mom is the one fighting like a girl, but she fought in her own way.
So I think that the answer, though, is of all the people in this book, who of them fought like a girl? The answer is all of them.
All of them, because
right.
And it goes back to her feeling like an outsider as well. When she, and there was something that vibe with all these other girls, like the sexy Jamaican girls, and when she's here, where she's with when she's around family even, right? And when she's with the Daisy Lunch crew, that she's not like these. It could come across as I'm not like these other girls, that phase. Some people go through it. Well, I'm not like these other girls, right? But then, what are other girls like?
Yeah, because that whole thing about that phrase, well, I'm not like these other girls. The suggestion is that whatever they're doing,
I'm not.
is basic or is shitty or is it's too feminine, or it's not feminine enough, or it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it usually, it's setting yourself apart in a positive light by putting down other women, or whatever
Right.
people think of is the average for that situation. But I think what's what was, I had something cool to say, and now I don't remember. I'm gonna say something else. It's not gonna be as cool, but whatever.
It's gonna be cool because you said it.
Well, thank you. I love you too. So there's something I think interesting about. Now, I'm not a big fan of Jason's character, but I do think that there is something interesting about Jason's character in that he is the only. Because I think I got the impression that Ricky is also, Ricky was not white, right? Ricky is, I got the impression, was also a person of color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so the only other male figure in her life who is not like a father, so it's not Ravi, her dad, but like her friend. So the only other male friend that we really see her engage with, we see Jason, and then we see Columbus. Columbus is like, like skinny white guy into anime, cool, totally my type, got it. Jason also totally my type because hot. But when I was that age, that is. But well, I mean, I guess I still like hot. Anyway, that's tangential. But Jason was the one who sat there and was like, you don't take your fight with you into the ring. Crew, who is your father figure, who is, that person that you wish were your dad, who you love and appreciate that way, doesn't even see that you don't take the fight with you into the ring. You go there to be beat up,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that makes, for me, that makes the character of Jason an interesting one, because it tells me that for all of the other things that were happening with this, with their relationship, he paid fucking attention, right? He may not be good in bed,
He needs to learn how to let certain skills transfer to other activities.
right? But he did care enough about her to pay attention to this, and he knew that it would upset her, and he knew that all of these things weren't really things that she wanted, but he went against her wishes anyway because he saw that she was going to get herself hurt. And so he's the one who came and he told the crew those things. And I feel two ways about that. I feel like, on the one hand, it's not your fucking business, right? You don't get to decide what's best for me, right? You're not my mother, right? So I think like that's shitty, but at the same time, he's trying to look out for her in ways that other characters in this book
Should
don't.
have and didn't look out for her.
Exactly.
Because you raise a
Other
very
characters
important point, Kay, because Crew is supposed to be her mentor, her sensei, crazy person that's supposed to be like, hey, your coach then. If you want to look at it in sporting terms, this is your coach, and your coach should have recognized that you are not bringing your fight, your anger, your speed, your strength. You're not bringing it with you to the ring. You're not putting it on not in the ring, but on the mat. You're not putting it out there. And because you're not taking the fight with you, how are you going to beat it? And this was from a physical perspective. Somebody who is a leader and trainer, people did not see that. But this shepherd little boy, right, who get between his pants, kind of thing, he's the one, had one moment. This is his one redeeming moment. And this is where he uses it.
I mean, I don't know that he particularly needed to be redeemed. Like, I mean, if
He didn't need to be redeemed, but it's like he was such a bland.
Okay, he don't have the best game in the world. Fine, all right. You learn, right? You read a couple books, you get some instruction from your partner, and you become better at it. That's fine, right?
He
That's
needs to
why.
find an Auntie Pammy to give him some books too.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, I loved that scene. But what I liked about Jason, I didn't like Jason, but what I liked about the writing of Jason is that he was presented literally to have sex with us, say a profound line, and just be somebody she liked. I didn't feel he wasn't like this. He was an object of desire. He was more of an object of desire than a
But I think that's
person.
that's still thematically, she admits it. Is she talking about how I admit that I like skinny anime nerdy guys? Yes, I do. And I
No, I
mean,
think
white ones,
no.
sure, but also all of the others. Like, I don't
No,
know.
like the reason that she likes him is because he saw her, and she admitted in the book that he saw her.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, because that's the kind of shit my mother would say now. Like, oh, anyway, it's fine. Yes. So I was gonna say something about that with Jason.
Yeah, he didn't need to be redeemed.
Yes. So it wasn't that he didn't. You were saying something about how like his whole purpose was just to like,
Be
you know,
hot,
be hot
provide
and
mediocre.
bone and yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, sure, yes, but honestly, that's a purpose.
Yeah.
And the thing is, so when some folks subscribe to the idea of like you know, you have like your main character, a mentor, a ally, so on and so on and so on. This girl Rel didn't have anything else. Her mentors and her allies just came in, you know, the foils, the shadows, right? Like you have an ally and a shadow something. I can't remember what they're called, but like she didn't have that. Jason became her ally after they, I think even maybe before they became an item, right?
Mhm.
Like Jason was her only ally. And again, I don't think that what he did was right exactly, because he didn't have, I think, a right to tell her what was good for her. But also, yes, she does admit that he saw her. I am now like processing what you said, Talia. This is me being sleepy.
Mhm.
And also what Anjali said /
We'll
Bob.
just share the final brain cell. That's all.
Yeah.
You gotta share that final brain cell.
We have to split that brain cell up. Maybe we need to get it to my toast. Anyway, boo. I had something else to say about Jason. Fuck. Man, I don't know. Whatever, I forget. So the other thing I was going to say was, it was interesting that the folks who acted as her allies were also both boys, right? Columbus and Jason, because
Right.
because the women and the girls kind of had their own like thing. Yeah, even Imelda, who was just like had like one weird moment about you crazy bitch, like that was weird, and I don't know even what that was.
I feel like she would, like, if she didn't mentally isolate herself, because there's isolation. Sometimes you're isolated when you're different from the pack, and then sometimes you're isolated because you feel isolated from the pack. You know what I mean? Like the difference between somebody being intimidating and you being intimidated, kind of thing. So I think that sometimes she isolated herself because they would ask her and they would give that gesture of, concern to her, but she wouldn't return. She would do like what I would do all the time. How are you doing? Fine. And this is me like in the ER, struggling to breathe, and the doctor's like, so how you doing? I said, he wants to know if the medication, if the ventilator is working. And I'm like, fine. So I saw aspects of her in me with stuff like that. And I saw that, yes, she was different from the crowd because the other girls, they had their own interests, and nothing is wrong with having your own interests. But could you imagine if one of those the hot girls had come to the gym, like they just showed up, no interest in joining, just to hang out? That she would feel isolated because that's just not her crowd, right? But at that, but she's not. But Trisha isn't seeing it that way. She is seeing herself as being isolated. She could only depend on these people, and then these people betray her. So now that she's been betrayed, how does she move forward? And I really, 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 really liked that she was able to come out of it. Like, when I say come out of it, like she won a fight which she never thought was gonna happen. She was in a relationship which she also never thought was gonna happen. She's living on her own. All these things that she never thought was going to happen. It was just so different from the life she had visualized for herself that she can now do, you know? And like her fight was never on the mat. Her fight was never on the mat.
Yeah, precisely.
know?
I mean, I think that's the point, right? I think
Yeah.
that's the point of all of this.
And I think she after Ravi fell down the stairs and died, sorry, sleep overtaken me. After Ravi
The
fell,
ravine. He fell into the ravine. Yes.
Ravi and the ravine. Sorry, that was a yeah,
Ravi fell down the ravine.
yeah, yeah. When
Okay,
that
I
happened,
think hold on. I think you and me in particular, Talia, because we're both so tired and we're both like rambling at this point.
yeah.
So let's reel it in and let Bree, how are you feeling? You good?
Do I answer how Talia answers? I'm fine. No, I could use a nap.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I know I could use a nap. I know Talia hasn't slept in 6 days, and I know Saidal is still wandering the streets of New York. So, I'm going to say let's wrap up. Let's give some of our final thoughts. I am honestly fading. I've been struggling for like the last 20 minutes to be coherent, and I'm pretty sure it's becoming very obvious to people who know me that I'm doing that. So, why don't we start with we'll go like is that clock whatever. We'll do it this way, whatever direction that is to you people who are seeing. So it's gonna be Bree and then Talia, Seidel, and then I will wrap up. And then you guys will have to tell people when the next book club is, because I won't know. I won't be here. So Bree, let's start with you.
Okay. I think this started out as, ooh, we have a thriller whodunit. But for me, it turned into something more and something incredibly more interesting also as we discussed it, because some things that like I wasn't sure about, with the unreliable narrator and maybe some things that I interpreted differently, like after discussing it, I think the story just became even more rich for me after the fact, right? Like fight like a girl. Well, who's fighting like a girl? And who are they fighting? Where's the fight at, right? If you read the blurb, oh, okay, yeah, she's a Muay Thai fighter. That's cool. But it's like, I think the layers of this story and we're very art. And again, I have COVID, so I'm trying to be like coherent also, but the artistry of the layers is what I'm trying to say, is that I think it was more interesting than I thought it was going to be. So I think you pick up this book, it's a short YA. I mean, you can burn through it in a couple of hours, but I think when you read it and you sit with it and you kind of digest it, you realize that there's a lot packed into this little book. And so my closing thoughts are, this book gave me a window into, like you said, this Caribbean family, this Trinidadian family. It gave me a look into trauma. It gave me a look into processing trauma. And at the end of the day, the narrator herself, Trisha, was a vibrant and sassy character who I think we all found things in her that we could relate to, so 5 out of 5 stars. And thanks to, is it Penguin Random House for sending us the arcs, because it was awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Well, these aren't arcs. These
Or
are
the
this book came out in
pre-release?
2020.
Oh,
No,
okay.
this book came out in 2020. Girl, this book has been out.
Girl, I'm still in 2020, okay?
That's fair. That's fair. That is
Still
why
in
we had
2020.
initially wanted to do this in March too, is because it would have been, I think, the
anniversary,
2-year
the
anniversary.
yeah.
Because it came out in March 2020. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So I guess, Bree, anything else you want to add?
Nope.
Cool. Talia.
Very special thank you to the author, Sheena Kamal, for taking my random comment seriously and reaching out to her publicist who reached out to us. That's thank you for that. Second, thank you for writing this. This was amazing. I got so many layers of complexity with something that it could have been so straightforward, and it would have, if it was straightforward, it would have been good. It would have been really, really good. But it wasn't that straightforward, and there's a lot of twists and turns. And I got a very Caribbean sense of storytelling. And I don't mean like the official storytelling, but it's like you sit down to tell a story. But you see, the thing is, what happened, what you didn't realize is Dave and his brother from 2005, right? He didn't understand that. I got a very, very powerful sense of that. And I just, so it takes a very secure writer to be able to say, I don't know, or to create a character, an I character, a first person character that is unsure. It takes a very strong sense of self, and I really, really, really appreciated seeing the, not just the teenage angst, but that teenage imposter syndrome, you know what I mean, play out. And I love the way the characters, all of them, grew, you know, into different people, into being more, into just being more of themselves. And yeah, I really appreciated that. Man, I'm real glad we get this book. I'm real glad we opened the year with it. And I feel like if this is the first book we did, I really hope it sets the tone for the other books that we're gonna do. Right? And quite frankly, if you are a writer, this is a hell of a bar. This is a hell of a bar. Right? It might not be your style, it might be a taste, but oh my God, it is such a credit to the craft of writing. Right? 10 out of 10. Will recommend. I'm actually going to message my neighbor to come collect the copy because she ordered it. And she heard me talk about it and she just couldn't wait. So she asked if she could borrow it. So
that's really how you know a good book, eh? Sai, give us your closing thoughts, please.
Closing thoughts. I echo the sentiments of Brie and Talia. This book wasn't what I expected, and I am pleasantly surprised by that. I came into it thinking, oh, it's just going to be a YA novel, it's going to be cute, whatever. But it took me on a journey and had the kind of depth and complexity that I enjoy. And I don't know. I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect this, and I am very pleased with what I got. The growth of the characters, I think my two favorite things are the dynamic of the three sort of like matriarch characters and their relationship to Trisha as one, and the second being the Caribbean voice in a transplanted Caribbean voice, right? So being out here in New York and experiencing life, a different life than what I'm accustomed to. There were things in here that rang true in a way that I didn't even acknowledge within myself of being true. And I think I really, 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 really enjoy when writing does that, when it awakens something in myself that I had previously ignored or had been hidden from me. And so I'm really grateful for this piece of work for that. This was just a really good read. It was an easy and good read. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I literally recommended it to Gabby today. I was like,
Nice.
we're talking about it today, so I'm going to give it to you tomorrow. It's fine.
Nice. Okay, cool. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it.
Cool.
Also, thank you to the writer and the publishing house for sending us these books. Send more.
Yes, for real. Please send more. We'll have, I guess, well, you guys have a new email address and a new YouTube channel and stuff. I need to copy it from the WhatsApp group. And
If
make
there's
it
anybody who would like us to, who thinks that their book is a good fit for a club, because we read for pleasure over in these streets. If you think it's a good fit for us, please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. I am Talish Vari. We also
I will
have,
send. I'll put
yeah,
a link. I'll put a link to everything.
yeah.
Um,
I
I
didn't get
definitely want to
around to doing
echo.
the, yeah,
That's all good.
link, yeah.
So I definitely want to echo all of the thoughts here. I think that there are a lot of other things we didn't really get to touch on too, because we're all just kind of a hot mess right now. Except Seidel, except like her situation is kind of a hot mess because she's walking around the city just like trying to
And
find
it's
a place
really
to
hot.
live.
And it's
Perched
really
in a
hot today.
sauna.
I was gonna say Seidel is looking like a hottie, so she's the hot and I'm the mess. I mean, it's called balance, people.
So there's a lot that we didn't get to touch on. Oh, BB. God.
Isn't that a mark of like the great books that we have? Like we always want to do a part 2 on this book.
Yes.
wanna
We
do a
always
part
want to
2.
end up doing like a part 2. But like some of the things that I was thinking of specifically that we hadn't got to touch on today was like was how she experienced racism and stereotyping, and how she interpreted it in there. Like, you know, the only thing she knew about Trinidad is carnival, and what she knew about Trinidad could fit into a sparkling tasseled A cup that she would wear on carnival.
That was so brilliant.
It was so well written.
It felt like
So there's
something
that.
you would have
There's
written.
it does sound like something I would have written. You're right. But also, you know, how she experienced that with her teacher, how she experienced, you know, how she expected people to look at her and think about her as a Trinidadian when they found out she's Trinidadian, like, yes, you know, and all that little joke about who could shake their ass better. Jamaicans or Trinidadians, etc. I thought that was all really funny. But so I think that there was like you that you ladies have already said, there was a lot happening in this book that was fantastic. That just there were all of these layers that really made it enjoyable to read. I was really, really pleased to read a Trinidadian story that was not set in the 60s or like 40s or 30s or whatever. I was really pleased to read a Trinidadian story that was modern, and that had a lot of the same things, a lot of the same like tropes and experiences that really connect us as Caribbean people. Just in a space and in a setting that I don't get to read Caribbean stories, which I really like. I really like that a lot about this book. I think that was my favorite thing. And I did go in thinking I would like this book, but I came out being like, I love this book, which says a lot. It says a lot about how it not just met but exceeded expectations. So, wrapping up the book portion, thank you. Of course, I think we've said it like a million times now. Thank you to Penguin Teen Canada.
Look at the color scheme.
Yes, no, oh no, yes.
Red, white, and black.
Yes,
Very
yes,
trendy color
cover,
scheme.
yes. Our flag is red, white,
and black.
For anybody who doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yes. So for the future of book club, we talked a little bit about this at the beginning. I know we have a couple more people watching now, and different people than at the beginning. So I'll just iterate. This was my last book club with the book club. Everyone here is going to be continuing to club with the books. Yes. It will be mostly run by Seidel, who will be our facilitator. I believe Bree is going to be handling our scheduling, and Talia is in charge of our social media, so expect Rel Bacanal. I will share it doesn't have it in the description right now, but I will add to the comments and to the description the contact information as well as the YouTube channel, because they're going to start their own YouTube channel, so that we because it's on my YouTube channel right now, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense if I'm not going to be here for y'all to be stuck here. So they'll be moving socials, which I will share with everybody. And as soon as we know the first date of the next book club, I will share that with you as well, even though I won't be there, except maybe in the comments and the chat. I hope. But we'll see. Do you all want to say or add anything else before I end the broadcast?
Thank you
I,
so much. Right, go Brie.
I was just gonna add one more thing that I think it kind of touches. It's just when she gets the book about, I'm gonna butcher it, Sukayans. How do you say it?
Sukuyan.
Sukiya.
Sukaya.
Yeah,
When she gets the
think
book
of it as
about,
French.
got it. When she gets that book from the teacher, and she finally goes back to him the second time, and she says, I want to give it another read. He said a line that I bookmarked because I think it kind of defines some of our mission here at Book Cult and going forward. But he says when he gets the book to her, maybe it will spark something for you the second read if you make it all the way through. It's about time we get some more diverse literature in the hands of students, teach them about other kinds of stories, show them that they have a place in the world of storytelling too. And I marked that because I think that goes along with our mission. And so going forward with Book Cult, that's what we want to do. So
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
Just send me the page. Message me the page number that's on.
sure, it's 196.
Okay, I'll take a note of it.
Cool. Okay. Well, everyone, I need a nap. And I'm pretty sure at least two or three of you two say we're all gonna go take a nap. I hope that you get a lovely nap too if you're taking one, whoever is watching. And thank you so much for joining us for my final book cult. Bye. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Good night.